Eleanor Hayes slammed the laptop shut, her coffee mug shattering against the tiled kitchen floor in a spray of porcelain shards and dark liquid that seeped like blood across the sun-bleached stones. The screen's frozen image burned behind her eyelids, her daughter Camilla, lips locked in a desperate, tender kiss with a woman whose face twisted Eleanor's gut, not with rage, but with a ghost of recognition that clawed at the edges of a 40-year-old lie. In the humid Andalusian morning, with the scent of jasmine choking the air, Eleanor whispered to the empty room, "God, no, not her," as the villa's ancient walls seemed to lean in, hungry for the secrets they'd long buried. The laptop had been a casual betrayal, left open on the wrought iron table in the courtyard after Camilla dashed off to her shift at the local cafe in Marbella. Eleanor, ever the dutiful mother even in this sun-soaked exile from Pennsylvania's Steeltown winters, had only meant to check the weather app for her afternoon hike along the Costa del Sol cliffs. But the cursor had wandered, as cursors do in moments of idle curiosity, into a folder labeled Summer 25, for us. What spilled out weren't the grainy, forbidden clips her panicked mind first conjured. No, these were home videos, raw and unfiltered, shot on a phone against backdrops of crashing waves and moonlit beaches. Camilla, her wild-haired girl of 22, laughing with unguarded joy as she filmed Cecilia, tall, sharp-featured Cecilia, with that ink-black pixie cut and eyes like storm clouds, whispering promises into the lens. "I never thought I'd find home in someone else's arms," Cecilia said in one, her voice cracking like thunder over the Strait of Gibraltar, "but you make me believe in forever." Eleanor's knees buckled, and she gripped the table's edge, the metal biting into her palms. Cecilia. The name alone was a knife, twisting back to 1987, to stolen summers in this very region where she'd been a wide-eyed exchange student from Pittsburgh, chasing freedom from her father's iron-fisted expectations. Cecilia Vargas, the local artist's daughter, with paint-streaked hands and a laugh that could unravel the tightest knots in Eleanor's chest. They'd been inseparable, two girls on the cusp of womanhood, sharing secrets under fig trees and stolen kisses in hidden coves. But Eleanor had fled it all, fled the heat of those feelings that society whispered were wrong, fled back to America to marry safe, steady Tom Hayes, to build the life of PTA meetings and Sunday barbecues that kept the questions at bay. Tom was gone now, taken by a heart attack 3 years prior, leaving her and Camilla to this rented villa in Estepona, a half-hearted attempt at reinvention on Spain's western coast. And now, this. Her daughter, entangled with the spitting image of the woman who'd haunted her dreams for decades. Not just any woman, Cecilia's daughter, she realized with a lurch, piecing together the timeline from the video's casual mentions of Mom's old canvases, and a shared birthday in July. The first video played in her mind on loop, Camilla and the young woman, no, Cecilia's daughter, it had to be, dancing barefoot on the beach at dusk, the camera wobbling as Camilla narrated their story like a love letter. "It started with that stupid art class in Malaga," Camilla's voiceover said, breathy and alive. "I was sketching olive branches, feeling like I'd never fit anywhere after Dad. You know. And there she was, across the room, with charcoal smudges on her cheeks, drawing storms that looked just like the ones inside me. Her name's Sofia Vargas. 24, fierce as the Sirocco winds, and the first person who's ever seen me without wanting to fix me. Sofia. Not Cecilia herself, thank God, but close enough to unearth the grave Eleanor had dug so deep. The videos weren't lurid, they were achingly intimate, Sofia reading poetry to Camilla under starbrick skies, their fingers interlaced, a quiet argument dissolving into tears and make-up kisses that spoke of fears unspoken. Eleanor watched 3 before the nausea hit, each one peeling back layers of her daughter's hidden world, a world Eleanor had failed to notice amid her own grief-fogged days. By noon, the villa felt like a pressure cooker, the Mediterranean breeze doing nothing to cool the sweat beading on Eleanor's brow. She paced the courtyard, phone in hand, debating a call to her sister back in Philly, anyone to ground her in the rational. But what would she say? Camilla's gay, and her girlfriend looks like the girl I loved and left behind. The irony was a bitter pill. Eleanor had raised Camilla to be fearless, quoting Gloria Steinem at dinner tables, marching in pride parades during their Pittsburgh summers. Yet here she was, unraveling at the sight of her daughter's happiness mirroring her own buried shame. She poured a glass of Rioja, the wine's tartness steadying her, and reopened the laptop. One more video, she told herself, just to understand. It loaded to a timestamp midway, Sophia and Camilla on the villa's rooftop, the sea a sapphire expanse below. Sophia's voice, low and fervent, I grew up hearing stories about my mom, Cecilia, how she lost her heart to an American girl who vanished like smoke. She never got over it, Cam. Painted it out in 1,000 blues and grays. And now. You feel like that missing piece coming back. Eleanor's world tilted. Cecilia. Alive, here, her ghost made flesh through this young woman with the same defiant tilt to her chin. The video cut to Camilla's face, soft with empathy, your mom's story. It's like mine, in reverse. Mom, Eleanor, she talks about Spain like it's the place she left her soul. Maybe that's why we ended up here. They laughed then, a sound like bells over the waves, before Sophia grew serious. What if we invited her? Cecilia. Show her it's not too late for any of us. The screen went black as the battery died, but the words echoed, a siren call to confession. That evening, as the sun dipped into the Atlantic, painting the sky in bruise-purple hues, Camilla burst through the courtyard gate, her café apron slung over one shoulder, cheeks flushed from the sprint home. Mom. You okay? The floor, Jesus, what happened? She dropped to her knees, gathering shards with bare hands, oblivious to the storm brewing in Eleanor's silence. Eleanor watched her, this vibrant echo of her younger self, freckles from Tom's Irish side, curls from some distant ancestor, but that spark, that unapologetic fire, pure Eleanor at 20. Camilla, she said, voice raw as gravel, we need to talk about Sophia. The color drained from Camilla's face, her hands freezing mid-sweep. How? Oh God, the laptop. Mom, it's not what you, but Eleanor cut her off, pulling her into a fierce hug that smelled of espresso and sea salt. It's exactly what I think, and more. Sweetheart, I've been where you are. Loving a woman who feels like the axis of your world. Camilla pulled back, eyes wide as saucers. You? But Dad. Eleanor nodded, the weight of decades pressing down. Your dad was good, Cam. Safe. But before him, in this very country, there was someone. Cecilia Vargas. And Sophia. She's her daughter. The revelation hung between them like the humid night air, thick and unbreathable. Camilla sank onto the stone bench, processing, while Eleanor spilled it all, the clandestine afternoons in '87, the fevered walks along these cliffs, the goodbye letter she'd never sent. I ran because I was scared, Eleanor admitted, tears carving tracks down her dust-streaked cheeks. Scared of what it meant for the life I thought I should want. And now, seeing you with Sophia. It's like fate's laughing at me. Or giving me a second chance. Camilla reached for her hand, squeezing. Then let's take it. Invite them both. Cecilia and Sophia. Dinner, tomorrow. We face it together. But doubt gnawed at Eleanor through the restless night, dreams tangled with memories, Cecilia's fingers tracing her spine in a hidden grove, whispering, stay, mi amor. This is home. Dawn broke with resolve, though, and by 10, Camilla had texted Sophia, the reply a flurry of heart emojis and a promise to bring her mother. Eleanor spent the day preparing, fresh paella simmering with saffron and shrimp from the market, white orchids in clay pots, a bottle of aged manzanilla chilling. The villa, with its arched doorways and bougainvillea-draped walls, felt less like a temporary refuge and more like a stage set for reckoning. Sophia and Cecilia arrived as the shadows lengthened, the gravel crunching under tires of a battered Renault. Sophia stepped out first, all easy confidence in ripped jeans and a linen shirt, her short hair tousled by the wind, pulling Camilla into a hug that lingered just a beat too long, intimate, unapologetic. Then Cecilia emerged, and time folded in on itself. She was 58 now, silver threading her dark waves, lines etching humor and sorrow around those storm-cloud eyes, but the artist in her shone through, a smock stained with cerulean, a silver cuff bracelet glinting like a talisman. "Eleanor Hayes," she said, voice husky with disbelief, as if the name alone summoned her from canvas to flesh. "The girl who broke my heart and taught me to paint it." The women converged in the courtyard, air electric with the unsaid. Camilla and Sophia hovered at the edges, hands clasped, their youth a bridge between eras. Dinner unfolded in fits, laughter over shared anecdotes of Malaga's chaotic markets, silences heavy as the paella cooled. Eleanor watched Cecilia across the table, the way her gestures mirrored Sophia's, the quiet strength that had once made Eleanor's pulse race. "I never stopped thinking of you," Eleanor confessed over dessert, figs split open like secrets. "I built a life," had Camilla. "But Spain called us back. And now this." She gestured to the girls, who blushed in unison. Cecilia's eyes softened, but a shadow crossed them. "I raised Sophia on your stories, Ellie. The American who danced like fire and vanished. It hurt, but it made me who I am. An artist, a mother. And Sophia. She's found in Camilla what I lost." The words were a balm and a barb, stirring envy Eleanor hadn't anticipated, not of the love, but of Cecilia's grace in owning her scars. As plates cleared, the conversation turned deeper, wine loosening tongues. Sophia spoke first, voice steady. "Mom told me everything when I came out at 16. How loving you saved her, even if it ended. It made me brave enough to chase Camilla." Camilla nodded, eyes shining. "And you, Mom? What would you have done differently?" Eleanor hesitated, the courtyard's fountain trickling like a metronome to her pulse. "I'd have stayed," she whispered. "Or at least said goodbye properly. Fought for us." Cecilia reached across, her hand covering Eleanor's, warm, calloused from brushes, igniting embers long banked. "It's not too late for truths," she said. "But some fires burn out clean." The touch lingered, a question unspoken, as the girls slipped away to the beach, leaving the mothers to the gathering dusk. What followed was a week of fragile truces and buried fault lines, the Andalusian sun beating down like a relentless interrogator on the women's evolving dance. Eleanor and Cecilia fell into old rhythms, revived yet reshaped, morning walks along the pine-scented trails of the Sierra Bermeja, where they'd once stolen breaths between classes. Now, they spoke of the in-betweens, Eleanor's marriage to Tom, steady but shadowed by unspoken longings, Cecilia's string of quiet loves, each painting a chapter in her solo exhibit life. "I never married," Cecilia admitted one afternoon, as they perched on a cliffside bench, the sea churning far below. "Couldn't, after you. Men were kind, but they weren't home." Eleanor swallowed hard, the admission a mirror to her own half-lived truths. "Tom knew, in the end. On his sickbed, he said, 'Go find your Spain, Elle. The real one.' I thought he meant the place. Turns out, it was always you." Camilla and Sophia, meanwhile, wove their own tapestry, unburdened by history's weight. They spent days in Malaga's labyrinthine streets, Sophia sketching Camilla amid the Alcazaba's ancient arches, capturing the curve of her jaw in quick, loving strokes. Evenings brought them back to the villa, where laughter filled the air, Sophia teaching Camilla flamenco steps on the courtyard tiles, hips swaying to imagined guitars, while Eleanor and Cecilia watched from the sidelines, wine glasses in hand. It was idyllic, almost, this patchwork family forged in revelation. But beneath the surface, cracks spiderwebbed, Eleanor's restlessness at night, staring at the ceiling beams as memories flooded, nights with Cecilia in youth, bodies entwined not in passion's heat but in the simple solace of shared skin. She ached to bridge the decades, to ask if that fire could rekindle without scorching the new loves blooming around them. The betrayal came swift as a sirocco gale, on a Tuesday when thunderheads gathered over the strait. Camilla had planned a surprise, a group trip to Ronda, the mountain town perched like a crown on its gorge, where she'd booked a private tour of the old bullring and a candlelit dinner in a cliffside parador. Eleanor woke to find the villa empty, a note on the kitchen counter, "Gone ahead to scout, meet at noon. Love, Cams." But her phone buzzed with a text from Sophia, "Cecilia's not coming." Something came up. Unease prickled Eleanor's skin as she drove the winding coastal road, the Renault's radio crackling with flamenco laments that mirrored her mood. She found them in Ronda's shadowed plaza, under the Puente Nuevo's looming span, the bridge that had witnessed lovers' leaps and suicides for centuries. Camilla and Sophia sat on a stone ledge, heads bent close, but it was Cecilia who drew Eleanor's eye, standing apart, phone pressed to her ear, face ashen. The call ended as Eleanor approached, and Cecilia turned, eyes rimmed red. "Ellie. It's Javier. My brother in Seville. The cancer, it's back, aggressive. He needs me. Now." The words landed like stones in still water, rippling out to drown the day's joy. Javier, the brother Cecilia had nursed through chemo a decade prior, the one who'd urged her to track down her American ghost years ago. Eleanor pulled her into an embrace, murmuring condolences, but inside, a selfish grief surged. Not now, not when we'd just begun. Camilla and Sophia rallied, postponing the tour, bundling into the car for the 2-hour drive to Seville. The journey was a pressure cooker of small talk and silences, rain lashing the windshield as they crossed the sun-baked plains. In the hospital's sterile corridors, scented with antiseptic and wilted roses, reality intruded harsh and unyielding. Javier lay frail in his bed, a shadow of the boisterous fisherman Eleanor vaguely recalled from old photos, his hand clutching Cecilia's like a lifeline. "Hermana," he rasped, eyes flicking to the newcomers, "you brought the stars with you." Introductions were hurried, tears freely shed, but as evening fell, Javier pulled Cecilia aside, their whispers fierce and private. Eleanor waited in the hallway with the girls, Camilla's head on her shoulder, Sophia pacing like a caged panther. "This is what love looks like," Sophia said finally, stopping to face them. "Messy, pulling you in directions you never planned. Mom's always said you were her unfinished canvas, Eleanor, the one she couldn't let go." The word stung, a reminder of Eleanor's own flight, and when Cecilia emerged, face drawn, she confirmed the worst. Javier's prognosis was weeks, maybe days. "He wants me here full-time," she said, voice breaking. "I can't leave him. Not again." The drive back was somber, the rain easing to a drizzle that mirrored the quiet ache in Eleanor's chest. At the villa, goodbyes stretched thin, Sophia lingering with Camilla in tearful kisses that spoke of borrowed time, Cecilia's hug with Eleanor fierce, almost bruising. "Write to me," Cecilia murmured into her hair. "Or better, come. When you can." But as their taillights faded down the drive, Eleanor felt the old fear resurface, abandonment, twice over, her heart the common casualty. Days blurred into a haze of forced normalcy. Camilla threw herself into work, her sketches of Sophia piling up like unsent letters, while Eleanor wandered the beaches alone, collecting sea glass in colors of regret, turquoise for lost summers, smoky gray for unspoken vows. Letters flew between Eleanor and Cecilia, emails thick with photos of Javier's bedside vigils and snippets of the girls' video calls, where Sophia and Camilla's love shone undimmed, a beacon against the gathering storm. But doubt festered. Eleanor caught Camilla one night, staring at her phone with hollow eyes. "She's not answering as much," Camilla confessed, curled on the sofa like a wounded bird. "Sophia says her mom's crumbling, that being there for Javier means everything else fades." The climax erupted on a sweltering Friday, the air heavy with the promise of heat lightning. Eleanor had driven to Malaga unannounced, drawn by an impulsive text to Cecilia, "I need to see you. All of you." The art studio in the old quarter was a riot of color, canvases leaning like drunken soldiers, the scent of turpentine sharp as memory. She found Cecilia at an easel, brush paws mid-stroke over a seascape that bled blues into furious reds. Sophia and Camilla were there too, tangled on a threadbare divan, heads together over a sketchpad, oblivious until Eleanor's shadow fell across the threshold. "Mom." Camilla bolted up, joy warring with confusion. Sophia followed, her smile tentative, but it was Cecilia who turned, paintbrush clattering to the floor. "Ellie." What? Words failed as Eleanor crossed the room, pulling her into a kiss, not the chaste press of old friends, but a claiming, desperate thing born of decades' denial. Cecilia stiffened, then melted, hands framing Eleanor's face as if memorizing it anew. The girls watched, frozen, the air crackling with shock. It was Sophia who shattered the moment, voice sharp as shattered glass. "Mom. What the hell is this?" Cecilia pulled back, eyes wide with her own surprise, but Eleanor pressed on, turning to the stunned pair. "This is the truth I ran from, the love that shaped me, that shaped you, Sophia, through stories and shadows. I won't run again. Not from Camilla's happiness, not from." She trailed off, gesturing helplessly at Cecilia, at the tangled threads of past and present. Betrayal flashed in Sophia's eyes, hot and immediate. "You think you can just waltz in after 40 years and rewrite us? Mom's given everything to me, to Javier, her heart's not a timeshare." Camilla reached for her, murmuring soothing nonsense, but Sophia shrugged her off, storming to the window, fists clenched. Cecilia stepped between them, voice steady despite the tremor. "Sophie, amour. This isn't theft. It's completion. Eleanor and I, we're the roots, not the rivals." But the damage was done. Sophia's hurt stemmed deeper, from years of being Cecilia's sole anchor, the daughter who'd mended her mother's fractures. Now, Eleanor loomed as intruder, threatening the fragile equilibrium. Camilla, ever the bridge, pulled Eleanor aside into the studio's back alcove, shelves groaning under jars of pigment. "Mom, this is too much. Sophia feels like you're choosing the past over us." Eleanor's heart cracked open then, fully, the weight of her selfishness crashing down. "No, baby. I'm choosing all of it. You, her, because I see now how connected we are." Cecilia's pain birthed Sophia's strength, and yours. "God, Camilla, your courage is mine, redeemed." Tears flowed freely, mother and daughter clinging amid the chaos of half-finished art, the storm outside mirroring the one within. Hours stretched into a raw, unscripted vigil in the studio, the rain finally breaking in sheets that hammered the tiled roof like accusatory fists. Sophia paced, her artist's hands twisting a rag until it frayed, while Camilla trailed her like a shadow, offering touches that were rebuffed, then accepted in exhausted defeat. Cecilia and Eleanor sat cross-legged on the worn Persian rug, backs against a wall papered in faded sketches, ghosts of their youth, ironically pinned where they'd once scrawled initials in charcoal. "I didn't mean to ignite this," Eleanor whispered, her fingers tracing Cecilia's knuckles, the contact a lifeline in the tempest. Cecilia shook her head, silver-streaked hair catching the lamplight. "You didn't. We did, by loving so fiercely we forgot the collateral." The confrontation peaked as thunder rolled, Sophia whirling to face them, voice breaking on the edge of a sob. "You too. It's like watching a movie I was never cast in. Mom, you've told me stories of Eleanor since I could walk, made her this myth, this what-if that explained every blue period. And now she's here, kissing you like it erases the years I spent being your everything." The words landed as indictments, each one flaying the air. Cecilia rose, slow as an old oak in wind, and cupped her daughter's face. "You are my everything, mi vida. Always. Eleanor. She's the poem I never finished, but you. You're the whole damn book." Sophia crumpled then, folding into her mother's arms, the fight leaching out in great, heaving cries that echoed the storm. Camilla, sensing the tide turn, drew Eleanor to her feet and into the fray, not as spectator, but participant. "Sophia, listen," she said, voice soft but unyielding, the barista's poise from handling rowdy tourists shining through. "My mom's mess is mine too. She raised me on half-truths, made me think love was something you settled for, like Dad. But seeing you too, your fire, your honesty, it cracked her open. And me. I was lost until you. If this family's growing pains hurt, it's because we're finally feeling." Sophia lifted her head, eyes red-rimmed but searching, and in that vulnerability, the first threads of understanding wove back. By midnight, the rain had softened to a patter, the studio a cocoon of spent emotion. They talked, really talked, for the first time as 4 points of a compass, not fractured lines. Javier's shadow loomed, his needs pulling Cecilia toward Seville, but plans formed around it, Eleanor offering to drive down weekends, Camilla tagging along with sketchbooks and care packages, Sophia bridging with daily calls that doubled as love notes to her girl. "We'll rotate," Cecilia decreed, a tentative smile cracking her fatigue. "Like the tides. No one gets left high and dry." Eleanor nodded, the practicality a bomb, but her gaze lingered on Cecilia's lips, the unspoken question of "thus" hovering like mist. The days that followed were a masterclass in tentative grace, the Andalusian landscape mirroring their inner shifts, golden fields yielding to olive harvests, symbolizing release and renewal. Eleanor dove into volunteering at a local LGBTQ+ center in Marbella, facilitating support groups where expat stories like hers unfolded in halting English and fluid Spanish. It was humbling, hearing women her age unpack closets long locked, and it fueled her letters to Cecilia, pages thick with reflections. "I used to think love was a zero-sum game, but you're teaching me abundance." Camilla and Sophia deepened their bond through the strain, weekend getaways to hidden coves where they wrote manifestos of their future, vows not of marriage, but of mutual musedom, Sophia's art inspired by Camilla's unfiltered lens on life. Yet the true test came mid-October, when Javier slipped away in the hush of a civilian dawn, his passing a quiet exhale after weeks of labored breaths. Cecilia's call to Eleanor was a guttural wail that crossed the miles, summoning her instantly. The funeral was a tapestry of Vargas kin, cousins with fishermen's builds, aunts in black lace mantillas, gathered in a hillside chapel overlooking the Guadalquivir. Eleanor arrived with Camilla and Sophia in tow, the three a united front amid the mourners' curious glances. Cecilia, clad in a simple black shift, her face a mask of composed grief, broke at the sight of them, collapsing into Eleanor's arms as the priest intoned final rites. In the aftermath, over strong coffee in Javier's sunlit kitchen, the family truth fully unfurled, not just Eleanor's past with Cecilia, but the deeper revelation that Sophia and Camilla's meeting was no accident of fate, but a cosmic echo. Javier knew, Cecilia confided, sifting through her brother's letters, one addressed posthumously to Eleanor. "He'd been after me to find you for years." Even nudged Sophia toward that art class in Malaga, said, "The winds carry old loves home." The paper trembled in Eleanor's hands, Javier's scrawl forgiving and forward-looking, "Take the leap you both denied, Hermana. Life's too short for half-sketches." Healing bloomed unevenly from there, a humanistic mosaic of small victories and lingering aches. Cecilia sold the Seville house, relocating to a cottage near Estepona, close enough for spontaneous dinners where laughter mingled with tears. Eleanor and she explored their rekindled flame cautiously, walks turning to held hands, evenings by the fire sharing books and breaths, a romance tempered by time's wisdom, never eclipsing the girls' vibrant union. Camilla and Sophia, buoyed by the elders' example, launched a joint exhibit in Malaga, echoes of the strait, canvases and photos intertwining their stories, stormy seas for lost loves reclaimed, sunlit shores for futures forged. Winter softened into spring, the Costa del Sol awakening in riots of almond blossoms, and on a cliffside hike one April morning, the same trail of Eleanor's youth, the four paused at a vantage point where the sea met sky in infinite blue. Camilla snapped a photo, the wind whipping curls and scarves, capturing the tableau, Eleanor and Cecilia shoulder to shoulder, hands linked loosely, Sophia leaning into Camilla, chin on her shoulder, a quiet fierceness in her gaze. To family, Eleanor toasted with a flask of sherry, the kind we choose, the kind that chooses us back. In that moment, under the vast Andalusian vault, the betrayals faded to footnotes, the conflicts to chapters closed. What remained was human, flawed, fervent, enduring, like the waves below, crashing and receding, but always returning home.